The narrative begins with a cloaked individual concealed on a castle's rooftop, awaiting the complete blackout of its lighters. His intention is to infiltrate the premises and eliminate his target. But just as he prepares to descend, he senses a presence directly behind him. Upon turning, he discovers a young boy with black hair perched on a nearby toilet, intently watching him from a distance. A sudden shiver courses through the hooded man, who initially presumes the boy is a rival assassin. However, closer inspection reveals more. He then recognizes the boy as the fabled silent assassin, celebrated for his exceptional and overwhelming abilities. The cloaked figure understands that escape is impossible and he is compelled to fight his way out of the situation. He swiftly moved to gain a strategic advantage, then hurls a volley of sharpened metal spikes at the silent assassin. To his dismay, the assassin professed to swift, effortlessly evading the incoming assault. Before the assassin can reach him, the hooded man draws his dagger, attempting to conclude the confrontation with a single, decisive Yet the cautious still looks at the that actually this dagger and sun. They engage in a first exchange across the rooftop until the boy expertly disarms his adversary. However, the hitman proves unwilling to yield so readily. He once again unleashes a flurry of spikes, which the assassin deftly evades. But this maneuver creates an opening for the hooded man to attack. Unfortunately for him, the black-haired boy had already anticipated the strategy. The boy effortlessly slips past the assault, reappearing directly behind him, causing the hooded hitman to grow increasingly desperate. He recognizes the enormous power imbalance between them and attempts to unleash every available attack he possesses against the younger assassin. The boy, however, remains perfectly composed. He expertly deflects and blocks every single slash and strike the hitman launches, even neutralizing his secret hidden sublime. With all his tricks exhausted, the hitman is left defenseless as the assassin calmly stabs him in the arm. After breaking his leg and leaving him incapacitated on the ground, the hitman is bewildered by the boy's seemingly effortless victory. He achieves his demise as a sword distance from the heaven, ending his suffering permanently, with his rival now eliminated. The assassin then enters his target's chamber, finding the individual asleep in bed, completely unaware of the peril he faces. He reaffirms his resolve, raising his dagger to strike the target and complete his mission only a short time ago. This formidable assassin was, in fact, a normal, solitary Japanese teenager named Akira, who attended high school. He preferred to spend his time alone, engrossed in reading MNJ and his phone, largely ignored by most of his classmates. However, on one pivotal day, a sudden rift appeared in their reality, transporting him along with all his classmates to an entirely different world, materializing in the middle of a royal church. She are terrified, questioning if it is a dream or an elaborate run. An elderly magician emerges through a grand doorway, announcing that the royal majesty desires an audience with them. None of them grasp the gravity of the situation, with some even speculating it as merely a costume party. But shortly after, the king, accompanied by the princess, enters the chamber and formally welcomes them to his new world, explaining they were summoned through a special magical ritual. The king immediately proceeds to business, asserting his position as the ruler of the largest human kingdom, now which is currently under imminent threat of attack from demonic forces. He claimed that only a hero from another world possesses the genuine power to vanquish the demon lord definitively. Otherwise, we are all destined for utter death and destruction. The mage then steps forward, declaring the need to identify the hero, and instructs everyone to approach. Then place their hands on the magic crystal sequentially. One particularly eager boy steps forward first, placing his hands on the crystal, only for his status to be revealed as nothing more than an animal trainer. He appears visibly disappointed, but the mage reassures him, stating that his statistics are still vastly superior to those of a normal person. And beyond, the students discover their respective statuses, with some manifesting as mages, others as chaos, and some as healers. Akira, however, observes something peculiar. Everyone else appears to have starting stats of 180, whereas his assassin stats are 10 times that amount at 1800. At 1800, the next boy, named Sato, finally approaches the crystal bag and is revealed to be the designated hero among them all. With initial stats of 1000, the old mage congratulates him, explaining that the starting statistics for every single person more cepat at a maximum of 500, but since he is a hero, his stats are double than. This strongly suggests an anomaly with Akira's statistics. Though as Akira's stats appear to be nearly twice those of the hero himself, everyone enthusiastically cheers for Sato, given his popularity within the class. Meanwhile, one of Akira's classmates urges him to reveal his own statistics to everyone present. Akira reflects on their current predicament, and considering their complete lack of knowledge about this world for its mechanics, he deems it foolish to disclose such an abnormally high number, believing he should first acquire more information. With everyone as stats now categorized and the hero identified, the elderly mage announces that they will all be provided with weapons and other equipment corresponding to their classes, then dismisses them to their rooms for the night. While returning to their allocated room, he also spots a concealed camera, signifying that these people are actively monitoring them. This observation strikes him as highly suspicious, so he decides to utilize his concealed presence ability to slip past a surveillance on reaches his room. He dresses in appropriate attire before stepping out onto the balcony, fully absorbing the profound realization that he is indeed in another world. With this realization, he determines that he must soon begin the task of acquiring more information. Effortlessly, with just a couple of leaps, he expanded the castle wall to its summit. Reflecting on his extraordinary capabilities, he spotted an unlatched window and stealthily infiltrated the king's private study. The king himself inquires of the princess if their scheme is progressing as intended. The princess responded that the youths from the alternate realm appear completely unaware of the unfolding events, possessing minimal magical prowess, thus posing no significant threat. The monarch instructs help to maintain vigilance over them, subsequently resuming his task, aided by his hidden presence ability. Akira remains practically undetectable, standing beside the king, contemplating the effortless ease with which he called and demands his life at that very moment. However, he opts not to. The subsequent morning, Akira takes his place at the breakfast table alongside his fellow students, who appear entirely unconcerned. As Sato, the well-liked, virtuous individual, receives and delivers an embarrassing address, proclaiming their vastly superior strength compared to their previous world, urging everyone to concentrate on assisting the populace of this realm with their newfound powers, and to combat the Demon Lord, precisely as commanded by the king. Every student in the class vocally assented to this ill-conceived strategy, while Akira ponders if he ought to disclose his recent discoveries, considering these naive individuals presume the king and prince to be their confederates. Following breakfast, the students convene at the training ground, where the Royal Army as Lord Commander, Saren, introduces himself, stating that as the Areal Novice, he will personally oversee their training. After which they can venture into a dungeon to genuinely assess their capability. Sato promptly galvanizes the entire group, asserting their commitment to excel, while Akira continues to remain hidden, silently observing the chaotic display from a distance. He resolves to gather additional intelligence independently, but to his astonishment, he finds himself trailed by Saren, who entrusts the class to his subordinate, Lieutenant Gil. Akira questions whether his presence concealing ability had ceased functioning, or if it possessed a finite active duration. However, Saren merely smiles, assuring him there is no cause for concern, as his powers appear to be operating perfectly. He discloses that he himself is endowed with supernatural vision, enabling him to perceive thermal variations, essentially making him a mobile thermal imaging device. Akira becomes worried, his hand instinctively gripping his weapon, inquiring if conflict is imminent. Saren, however, assuages his fears, asserting he has no desire to betray him to the king or the princess. Akira remains unconvinced, questioning Saren as true loyalties, but Saren responds that the situation is far more intricate and cannot be simply articulated, acknowledging Saren as sincerity. Akira marginally relaxes his vigilance and then expresses his desire to visit the library to acquire maximum information. Saren then inquires about the proficiency level of his concealment skill. Akira discloses that it has already reached its maximum potential, an astonishing fact. Yet his other capabilities remain at level 1, and he possesses no knowledge of how to enhance them. Saren smiles, asserting his ability to assist, as Akira will not find the desired information within the library as convinced anyway. Regardless, Akira questions the extent of his trust in Saren. Yet he cannot dismiss the undeniable allure of increasing his power. The joy of getting stronger is indeed thrilling. He composes himself and asks Saren for the precise method of returning to his world, but Saren admits he has no knowledge of it either. However, he understands that Akira must cultivate immense strength, as only by surviving can he discover a path back to his origin. Should he remain alive, Akira states his aversion to accepting unearned assistance, prompting Saren to propose that, in return, Akira could impart knowledge about his native world. This proposition appears satisfactory, as Akira extends his hand to Saren in a handshake. The inaugural individual in this realm he chooses to confide in. Before long, he commences learning about other indigenous species, such as the Beastfolk and the elephants who inhabit distinct, separate continents. Concurrently, he persists in honing his physical and intellectual faculties, asserting that rigorous training is the exclusive method to advance his proficiencies and improve, while his classmates also undergo separate instruction. Under the mentorship of Gin, on a particular evening, he seeks out Saren, having discovered a book, which he is convinced was authored by the Lord Commander. Saren takes the book, smiling, and confirms it is indeed a blueprint for deposing the monarch, penned by himself and cleverly disguised as a culinary guide. Saren discloses that the king is an irredeemably fractured individual, who intends to undertake an extremely radical action to fundamentally alter the world as functioning, an outcome Saren cannot permit. Simultaneously, he holds the position of commander of the royal nation, bound by a sacred obligation to safeguard the sovereignty. Akira comprehends his predicament and divulges that he had the chance to assassinate the king. On the very evening they were summoned to this place, but found himself unable to wield his blade. Saren responds kindly, affirming he made the correct choice. Formerly being an assassin does not obligate him to commit acts of murder. Ultimately, a month elapses, and the heroes are fully prepared to venture into the dungeons, met by nearly the entire city, which applauds and cheers for them. From a distance, however, Akira observes a cloaked guru staring intensely at them, prompting him to utilize his abilities to materialize behind her. Startling her, he inquires why she gazes at them with such animosity, and the azure-haired girl responds that while everyone in the city acclaims him and his companions as hero, she is aware of the sacrifice that was exacted to bring him to this place. Akira confesses his complete unawareness of any such sacrifice, but she, much like a non-player character, instructs him to ascertain the truth independently and then depart. Shortly thereafter, they enter the dungeon, where monstrous creatures emerge from every conceivable direction, and seemingly every stone conceals a trapdoor, unleashing yet more adversary. The student shall appear utterly fatigued and enfeebled. Akira fends off numerous fools before inquiring Saren if they should retrain. Saren responded, stating he will accomplish enough for the day, then employs his divine ability to forge a clear path ahead. Gil urges everyone to fly towards the exit, but they discover themselves still trapped underground, confronted by a horde of monsters. Suddenly, the awkward Lord Sato reaches the smoke bomb given by the prince, believing it would repel the creatures. He hurls the bomb at them, but to his dismay, a minotaur emerges from the smoke. Gil then arrives on the scene, astonished to find a minotaur on the upper floor. As if beastly reside much deeper within the dungeons, Akira instantly springs into action, evading its attack and leaping onto the minotaur, plunging his dagger into its head. However, to his shock, the blade shatters into fragments, forcing him back. Sato remains on the ground, too weak to wield his sword, but Akira orders him to stay put, reminding him that he is destined to be the hero who vanquishes the Demon Lord. Commander Saren appears, grasping the severity of their predicament. When Akira proposes Saren utilize his unique weapon and let him handle the rest, Saren cautions that it should be perilous. Yet, witnessing Akira's determination, he proceeds to cast the spell without hesitation. A massive lightning bolt immediately strikes the Minotaur, while Akira positions himself behind the beast, poised to strike. Akira activates his shadow magic, unleashing sharp, dark spears towards the Minotaur, which is still struggling against Saren as lightning. Nevertheless, the Minotaur soon breaks free and targets Akira, unaware that Akira has already cast his spell. As the Minotaur swings its heavy axe at Akira, its hand is impaled by the shadowy spears. Akira then pierces its body with even more spears, and once confident that the creature cannot easily escape, he begins dragging it down into the dark cave beneath its feet. The Minotaur is swallowed by the abyss, and the spear is hit just before it completely vanishes. Everyone is stunned that Akira managed to defeat such a formidable monster, but then his powers abruptly spiral out of control, causing widespread panic. He struggles to retract the shadow spears. Fortunately, Saren intervenes to help him regain composure, and with his guidance, Akira successfully masters his power, deactivating his shadow magic. He feels fortunate to be alive, and Saren remarks that Akira truly surpassed his expectations today. Upon their return from the dungeon, Akira thanks Saren for saving everyone as lives, but he feels he does deserve all the credit, stating that without Saren as support, they should have defeated the Minotaur, especially since he struggled to properly cast shadow magic during training. Saren noticed that this is the first time he has heard of an additional skill called shadow magic, and he agrees that Akira currently has minimal control over the spell. She warns him to exercise caution when using it next time, and then decides to present him with a samurai sword for to be the first hero himself. Akira accepts the sword and asks Saren why he is giving it to the current hero instead. The commander replies that Sato already possesses the holy sword. However, the primary reason is that Saren pilfered the sword from the royal treasury, and bestowing it upon the stupid hero would lead to his immediate arrest. Akira gladly accepts the sword and discovers inscriptions near the hilt. The first reads Yato no Kami, and the subsequent inscription reveals the first hero as wish for his sword to guide his successor through the future themes. Akira expresses a desire to have met the first hero. Reflecting on the hero, Akira recalls the curse placed on Sato and their inability to break it. Despite the enchanter has repeated attempts, he senses something amiss, and Saren has a theory about it. The princess is actually the one behind the curse, attempting to manipulate Sato into becoming her puppet through a dark magic ritual. However, Akira arrives just in time and shatters the magic crystal she was using for the ritual. The princess becomes enraged, demanding how he dared enter a woman's private chambers without her consent. Akira simply points his sword at her, declaring that a sorceress who chooses other is no true woman. He questions her motives for such actions, and the princess responded that it is all for the king's sake. Akira asks why she obeys the king, and the princess repeats her previous statement, her eyes appearing devoid of life and reason. Akira purchases this to and exits the room, but the princess possesses more magic crystals than she intends. To curse the remaining students, meanwhile, Akira takes the crystal to Saren's residence and informs him that his suspicions about the princess were correct. Cursing Sato isn't a new occurrence, as Saren noticed she has decreased her malicious deed. He asked Akira if he revealed his identity to the princess, and Akira confirmed, explaining he wished for a proper discussion with her. But she was not very articulate. Saren replies that the princess is currently nothing more than a puppet for the king, and then advises Akira not to sleep within the palace tonight. Akira is curious about the reason, and Saren explains that the princess can trust anyone but him, as he never disclosed his status to her. This means you will instead try to have him killed, and Saren wants him to remain away from the palace. Akira asks if he won't be reprimanded for carelessly showing his face, and the commander responds that adolescents are naturally impulsive and reckless, and it is the responsibility of adults like him to manage such situations. The next morning, Akira awakens to a commotion emanating from the palace, and upon reaching it, he discovers a large protection. He observes that Sato has been freed from the curse. A query is made regarding the commotion. Sato reveals Sarin as the Missy, a fact Akira struggles to comprehend. Akira pushes through with the onlookers, discovering Sarin is levels found on the ground, a blood piercing his chest. Akira is crushed by the loss of his friend, his sole companion. However, his peers accuse him of feigning grief, convinced that he is the culprit. His classmates heavily choose and who you can Sarin as is all, what occur contest. Hasaludi, just the adverts of the main horror. Nevertheless, his players fall on deaf ears, as they brand him as suspicious and unreliable ever since their collective arrival. Akira speculates he may be afflicted by the princess's curse, as suspicion seemingly confirmed by their unanimous blame. Only Sato steps forward to advocate for him. Sato argues for a thorough investigation, but the king pronounces a death sentence for Akira for the assassination of their esteemed commander. The monarch commands his guard to apprehend him, yet Akira employs a special ability to conceal his presence. He can evade his capture, escaping unscathed, while the king dispatches soldiers throughout the palace in pursuit. Akira seeks out Gil. Gil discloses that an elite hit squad murdered Sarin, acting on the king as the right command, and that this same squad is now targeting Akira. However, Sarin had foreseen this outcome and prepared provisions for travel in his chamber. Gil instructs Akira to collect the supplies and make his escape. Akira expresses gratitude to the vice commander, then hurries to Sarin's quarters to retrieve the provision, inadvertently leaving behind a small satchel in his haste. Later that evening, the king says that Sarin's defeat was achieved with less difficulty than he had anticipated, and that now, no one remains to challenge their authority. The princess informs him that the indoctrination of all students, that with the exception of the hero, is finalized, and their next step is to fabricate a justification for war against adjacent realms. The king expresses his satisfaction. Upon hearing this, Tan instructs the princess to deploy the assassiner to pursue Akira. Ito guarantee he won't live long enough to pose a danger. Concurrently, Akira has taken refuge within the Dungeon. As Sarin had once advised him it was the optimal location to elude those pursuing him. Hoge saw the vacancies a lack of potable water. Furthermore, the Dungeon served as an excellent environment for gaining experience and enhancing one's abilities. However, the majority avoid it due to its inherent perils. Sarin had chosen Akira, that even his ability to mask his presence would not safeguard him from Hector monsters possessing exceptionally achieved sensei. Yet, if he were to sufficiently advance his level, they would gain the capacity to eliminate his sin and even his body temperature, thereby achieving nearly any pursuer. Heading this council, Akira ventures further into the dungeon as depth, egging formidable creatures such as Flamehound, which it not open to the mist. Akira recalls. The Sarin Espas mention of a unique ability granted to everyone upon reaching level 100, significantly enhancing their power. While vanquishing dungeon bosses offers the swiftest path to accumulating experience, it simultaneously presents a pre-loss, or the confrontation, from which there is no retreat once it commences. Akira is resolute in his ambition to rapidly achieve immense strength, regardless of the sacrifice. Having vanquished the Flamehound, we proceeds into the boss chamber, where an enormous demonic lion lies in wait. The lone beast instantly initiates an assault, and Akira skillfully evades every strike he fails to perceive down the creature as time is, in fact, a serpent capable of spitting poison. Taken be surprised by the venom. The monster impales him with a claw. Akira acknowledges his sheer fortune and still being alive, but he has no intention of surrendering just yet. As the lion hurls him aside, Akira resolves to commit fully, unleashing his formidable shadow magic. The shadowy tendrils instantly impale and shred the monster, though Akira finds himself unable to sustain control for an extended period. As he loses consciousness, a masculine voice emanates from within him, declaring that the master has sustained excessive injury. Thus, the shadow magic will be forcibly enacted. The shadow rapidly approaches his form and initiates a healing protocol. Utilizing the mana reserved within his shadow magic to mend his wounds. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Sato informs his fellow students that he ought to depart immediately to confront the Demon Lord. However, the majority respond that the timing is inappropriate, given the recent demise of the Knight Commander. Sato maintains that immediate action is imperative, or they will face irreversible consequences, yet most of the students remain under the influence of the church. They assert that his efforts are futile. Sato then declares his intention to proceed alone, but fortuitously, a few individuals expressed their willingness to accompany him. Sato is perplexed as to why they would opt to follow him. Given their current state, nevertheless, they are confident that they have successfully broken free from its influence. The enchanter states that she has developed the ability to distinguish between chosen and unchosen individuals, and she is certain that everyone present is now liberated from the curse. The towering swordsman, Asahi, claims responsibility, vaguely challenging, slitching through peculiar crystals in an unfamiliar chamber. He has no recollection of how he arrived there or how he acquired a samurai sword. Yet, ever since that incident, a small number of students found themselves free from the curse. Yet it is revealed that Jill was the one responsible for this. His suggestion ability proves more potent than any choice when it comes to compelling his target to perform a single, straightforward action. He expresses relief at having managed to rescue at least a handful of students, as this was Sarin's final directive, and now he can only offer them good wishes for their expedition. Concurrently, Asahi believes that forming an alliance with Akira should be their immediate priority. But CLC Akira was the sole individual aware of the truth during their current state. Hudson recalls an instance from their original world, where they encountered Akira working a part-time position at a railway crossing. Akira had requested him to maintain confidentiality, as she preferred his classmate and younger sister remain unaware of his employment. Asahi readily agreed to this request. Upon discussing their sister, they realized the girls were close friends, which fostered a positive relationship between them. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Akira awakens from a dream reliving the event and ponders Asahi's well-being. He abruptly perceives his physical condition to be remarkably improved and proceeds to check his personal status. He discovers an increase in his attributed and his health points fully restored. Furthermore, his shadow magic ability has advanced a level. Despite having utilized it just once, he is perplexed by his development. Yet he lacks the leisure to contemplate them. Instead, he resolves to venture further into the dungeon's depths, quickly arriving at the 75th level, where a slime creature instantly assails him. Akira expresses astonishment at encountering a slime on such a low floor, promptly striking it down, and to his amazement, a beautiful elf emerges from the creature as dissolved for. Perplexed, Akira opts to activate his World Eye ability. This skin, which he had never had an opportunity to employ previously, reveals numerous terrifying sectors the instant he activates it. These visions nearly induce nausea, prompting him to deactivate the ability before it can overwhelm his consciousness with excessive data. At that very moment, the elf maiden, Amelia, regains consciousness, and Akira inquires about her well-being, to which she assures she is fine. However, Akira remains unconvinced, having previously observed her status, which indicated her health points had plummeted to a mere 2%. He is also aware that Amelia possesses the World Eye ability and has already employed it on him. She addresses him by name, then questions the nature of their location. He informs her it's a dungeon where he seeks to enhance his abilities, subsequently beginning to reprimand her. He admonishes her regarding the impropriety of scrutinizing other statuses, but she unexpectedly faints into his embrace. Akira discovers she is suffering from a fever and transports her to the 69th floor for recuperation. Amelia awakens with a jolt. However, Akira instructs her to consume water to maintain hydration, subsequently offering her porridge to eat. She then inquires why he transported her from the 75th floor all the way to the 69th. Akira explained that it was the closest level possessing a water source, then advises her to rest. She expresses gratitude for his rescue. She subsequently discloses her royal lineage as a princess. Yet Akira remains largely unconcerned by this revelation. Shortly thereafter, Amelia makes a full recovery and accompanies Akira on his expedition. Upon reaching the dungeon S80th floor, she employs her gravity magic to aid him in combat. Nevertheless, he is rather displeased with her accompanying him into perilous situations. Amelia informs him that her path aligns with his, and then asserts with conviction that she possesses sufficient strength to protect herself. Akira is left with no alternative but to allow her to join him, and they soon step into the boss chamber, encountering a formidable dragon. This dragon, poised to eliminate any trespassers, instantly exhales blue flames in their direction, but they successfully evaded the attack. Akira conceals this presence as Amelia suppresses the dragon with her gravity manipulation, thereby creating an opportunity for him to strike. Yet, the dragon perceives his approach even through his invisibility enchantment, and swats him aside. Amelia shouts at Akira, explaining that the dragon is detecting him via his mana, and urging him to merge it with the ambient mana. Akira, however, has not yet mastered this technique. Consequently, he resolves to combat as he typically does, activating shadow magic and dispatching a solitary dark speck towards the dragon. This attack grazes its face, compelling it to alter its course. Seizing this opening, he plunges his sword into the dragon's eye, bringing it down. Amelia is genuinely impressed by his audacious combat strategy. However, just as she prepares to inquire about the specifics of his ability, the dragon's form begins to emit a luminescence, startling both of them. The dragon then morphs into an enormous bloodvillain, a transformation neither Akira nor Amelia can comprehend. Amelia employs her world eye skin and as Cortana translates is a shapeshifter, thus clarifying its previous dragon guise. This revelation clarifies everything for her, as an authentic dragon would possess far greater resilience than this feline. Akira is struck by Amelia's effortless command of her world ape, and she questions why he doesn't utilize it himself. He recollects the sensation of his man nearly fracturing the previous time he attempted to employ the skill, and he presumes this difficulty stems from his insufficient level for its proper application. Amelia, conversely, posits that Akira is superciliously resisting the skill. This rejection, she believes, is the root of his difficulty. Just then, the black cat stirred and begins to speak, expressing disappointment at being vanquished by a human. And an elf, despite having assumed a dragon form, merely for amusement. Akira is utterly bewildered upon hearing the monstrous feline converse. The chair, offended by Akira's astonishment, instructs him not to categorize him alongside other instinct-driven, lower creatures. He asserts his status as a being of advanced intellect, personally fashioned by the Demon Lord. Akira retorts that such distinctions are irrelevant, as, following the final strike, the feline will be incapable of retaliation if the black cat stressed for counter, the act in paintingness. However, it possesses a crucial message for Akira before its end. It recesses, emanating a formidable aura, informing Akira that the Demon Lord anticipates his arrival at his fortress, located deep within the volcanic demon continent. This communication instills suspicion in Akira, prompting him to question how the Demon Lord is aware of his existence and the reason for the invitation to his stronghold. The Black Chain responded that the Demon Lord as naturally transcends Akira's comprehension, thus preventing it from divulging further details. It subsequently reclines on the ground, instructing Akira to end its life, but he declined. The cat admonishes him to chase his pretense of aloofness, arguing that humans are still and monsters as adversaries. Therefore, it suggests killing it no would be logical. Akira, however, disagrees, asserting that, in his view, the genuine adversary is the king. Yet he remains unconvinced by the demon as essential, that demons are their adversaries. Amelia reminds him that the entrance to the boss chamber will not yet unless they vanquish the boss, or are vanquished by it, the black feline conjures, inquiring if he intends to preserve from starvation in this location. He then asks why Akira is reluctant to eliminate him, and Akira's response is both straightforward and astonishing. Akira explains his fondness for feline, noting that this particular black cat, unlike other monstrous entities, possesses the ability to communicate with him. He firmly believes a workaround must exist now, allowing them to exit the boss room without necessitating the cat's demise. Amelia then recollects an alternative solution, suggesting that if Akira were to forge a covenant with the black cat, accepting it as his companion spirit, the creature would case to be classified as a boss monster. Thereby opening the exit, the black cat breeds this notion, asserting that only a seasoned practitioner of magic, possessing exceptional command over mana, could perform such a ritual, and Akira clearly lacks the necessary aptitude. Amelia challenges his assertion. She discusses that his capabilities have already exceeded the threshold required for the ritual. She remains the black child. Had Akira had previously disengaged his mana from his physical form to disorient it, an accomplishment previously attributed solely to the inaugural hero. Amelia expresses certainty that Akira possesses the ability to attempt the ritual, so she harbors doubts about its successful completion. He then inquires about the consequences of failure. The Black Chain responds that one of them will perish, and in the dearest scenario, both could forfeit their life. Akira expresses his readiness to undertake such a period, a decision the Black Cat struggles to comprehend. Nevertheless, it instructs him to proceed, stating its own disregard for mortality. Akira becomes incensed by the creature's nonchalant attitude towards existence and demise. The Black Chain retorts that further existence would, well no happiness, prompting Akira to resolve to persuade Ei. Subsequently, he consults Amelie on the ritual as execution, and she discloses that the initial phase involves bestowing a new name upon the villain. Akira christens him Neir. Inspired by his exquisite food, which evokes the image of the nocturnal firmament, the cat exhibits no response to the chosen name. Following this, Akira advances to the subsequent stage, which entails channeling mana into the creature as Pau. Amelia cautions him that this action is irreversible. Once he commences the mana infusion, and should he prove unable to exert control over the cat, his own life could be forfeited. Akira maintains his conviction of success, and as he begins to channel his mana into the cat's paw, he experiences an overwhelming surge engulfing him. He comprehended that this sensation emanates from within the chart, but then abruptly, he perceives himself plummeting towards a conflagrated metropolis. Akira is appalled by the horrific spectacle, subsequently observing night as rampage through the urban landscape, slaughtering Aion attempting to flee. He attempts to restrain Night, yet the creature assails him with its dark mana, inflicting substantial harm. As Akira regains his footing, Night commands him to chase his indication and eliminate him, for that represents the sole means of escaping this location alive. Akira, still unable to bring himself to assault the villainy, prompts Night to resume its offensive, striking him with its formidable claw. The injuries sustained by Akira within this dreamscape begin to manifest effects on his physical body in the waking world. Concurrently, he ultimately resolves to retaliate, hurling his dagger at Night, who effortlessly parries the attack, and subsequently commences accumulating its dark power to swiftly conclude the confrontation. Akira, in turn, rushes towards it. However, rather than launching an assault, he permits himself to be impaled by Night as Talon. The black cat is utterly bewildered by his attack, and demands to know what he is attempting. Akira responds that he has no desire to slay him, and they understand that Night, though, wishes no harm upon others. Night counters that it is a monstrous entity, and even with its intellect, its primal urges continuously compel it to eliminate Aion, obstructing its path. Akira, recognizing Night's awareness of bloodshed, declared that it no longer needs to contend with its instincts. In solitude, he grasps its claws, vowing to safeguard it, and guarantee it will never again be forced into such actions. Gradually, the dreamscape starts to dissipate, and as Night begins to place its trust in him, it transforms into a feline of ordinary proportions. Finding solace within Akira's embrace, the sun ascends within the dream realm, becoming a mirror of the tranquility that Night now experiences while cradled by Akira. Consequently, Akira re-emerges from the dream world. Upon confirming the success of the fight ritual, he touches Night to verify it. A golden emblem materializes on the back of his hand. Subsequently, the crimson mark on Night's forehead also shifts to a golden hue. Amelia clarifies that this signifies the successful completion of the covenant, and Akira's soul is now intertwined with the cat essay. Night also awakens, commenting that now he is intrigued to observe the extent of Akira's future endeavor. He acknowledges Akira as his master and dedicates his existence to his service. Amelia then presents herself to him, and Night responds that, as his master is associate, she also commands his deference. At that precise moment, a mystical emblem materializes on the ground, indicating the boss's vanquishment. However, Akira appears to be engrossed in contemplation. He expresses a desire to advance to the subsequent floor immediately, but Night is injured. Night reassures him that the portal will remain accessible until he chooses to utilize it, thus negating any urgency. He opts to allow himself some time for recuperation, and Amelia proposes that he leverage this interval to foster a deeper understanding of one another. Night promptly assents to her idea, and Akira is discreetly astonished by the swift transformation in Negat as the Menon. Concurrently, Sato and his companions arrived at a nation established by a hero who, like them, was summoned from Ertel. And they are collectively astounded upon observing how the country bears an uncanny resemblance to historical Japan. The entire environment evokes a sense of familiarity, prompting them to unwind before deliberating their forthcoming strategy. Sato states that their primary concern must be their financial resources, facing imminent destitution and homelessness waging among them. A member proposes that becoming adventurers would be their most suitable profession. Sato concurs, subsequently shifting the discussion to the topic of information acquisition. He puts forward the idea that they should locate an individual highly knowledgeable about this rare and also consult books containing crucial data. Another young man lets out as again, expressing his hope that a volume may exist detailing a return path to art. Yet Sato is convinced that vanquishing the Demon Lord offers their most promising chance to achieve this. He speculates that only Gemonas and the royal heir possess the knowledge to facilitate their return, and despite their corrupt and malevolent disposition, they must earn their cooperation by vanquishing the Demon Lord. We proclaim that once they have amassed adequate resources and intelligence, they will proceed directly to the Demon Continent. However, Asahi voices his dissent, asserting that he ought to rendezvous first with Akira beforehand, prior to journeying to the Demon Continent, as his instinct suggests Akira is rapidly increasing in power, at a significantly quicker pace than Anion is, and his presence in their group is absolutely essential. Several individuals align with Asahi's viewpoint, whereas others persist in believing he is responsible for Commander Saren the Mist. A minor dispute erupts among them concerning this subject, but the female members intervene to mediate their disagreement. He solicits Sato's perspective on the issue, given his position as their leader. He holds the authority to render the ultimate judgment. Sato sees which aside, convinced that Akira has already surpassed them in strength. Yet, he expresses skepticism regarding their ability to collaborate with him, stating that Akira prefers to avoid entanglement with other individuals. And furthermore, Akira still fails to recall him, despite their shared history as classmates since kindergarten. These revelations turns everyone present, and even Asahi concedes that Akira is not preciously inclined towards teamwork. Sato then recounts that, as per ancient lore, only the sacred bloody, wielded by the chosen hero, possesses the power to vanquish the Demon Lord. Therefore, he must cultivate sufficient strength to fulfill this duty. He is convinced that even if they locate Akira, the latter will refuse to cooperate with them if their power is insufficient. Consequently, he resolves to await him in this land, while he diligently strives to enhance their capabilities. Amelia, concurrently, is recounting her personal history to Akira and Nie. Her own sibling had expelled her from her homeland, and her sister's forces were determined to end her life, trapping her against a precipice. And she employed her gravitational magic to descend into the river beneath, which subsequently carried her to a secure location. Nevertheless, she was injured and exhausted, and other colored slim exploited her vulnerability, consuming her entirely. Her next conscious memory was being inside the dungeon, having just been saved by Akira. Upon hearing her narrative, Akira feels sympathy for her. Yet, Wright identifies several inconsistencies, pointing out that slims typically do not consume humans, and even if one had ingested Amelia, she would have been fully digested by the moment of her rescue. She, too, admits to not comprehending the situation. But despite this, she expresses gratitude towards the slim had delivered her to Akira. Akira advises her that she ought to return and attempt to reconcile with her sister. However, Amelia has already surrendered, believing herself incapable of watching her sibling. But nevertheless, Akira reassures her that matters will resolve themselves eventually, as they are family. He mentioned that he also possesses a sister. And even though she is perpetually impudent, they still holds profound affection for her. Amelie and Kathleen inquire if he desires to go back to his original world to reunite with his family. Akira confirms this, but states he has another task to complete beforehand. Recommends speaking about Siren, the individual who instructed him on how to survive in this realm and becomes enraged. Reflecting on those responsible for Siren's death, he pledges to eliminate the king and princess for their role in Siren's assassination, and his murderous intent causes both Amelie and Nya to recoil in terror. Amelia shouts his name, jolting him out of his homicidal rage. After he has regained his composure, both Amelie and Knight inform him that they are familiar with Siren's name, as he was a renowned Knight commander. Akira perceives the atmosphere has become overly strained, so he swiftly produces his glove and, propelled by his feline instincts, Knight attempts to capture it. Akira is pleased to observe that the strategy, which proved effective on all the three animals near his home, is equally successful with a monster cat, and Amelia also expresses a desire to try it. Shortly thereafter, Akian and Amelia begin affectionately caressing it, reveling in the soft and plush feel of his fur. Nexen instructs Akira to approach matters with greater gravity, because their souls are interconnected, and should one perish, the other will inevitably follow. Akira is already aware of this fact, but nevertheless, he is simply content not to have accurate achat familia, as he possesses a strong fondness for felines. Amelia responds by stating her envy of him, because she, is fond of cats. Once they have finished their playful antics, they resolve to depart from the Dunya. Akira inquires of Neji about the destination of the teleportation magic circle, but the feline familiar possesses no knowledge regarding it. He explains that merely a select few demons still retain the skill of crafting magic circles, and Akira resolves to seek them out, and compel them to serve him once he arrives on the demon continent. Abruptly, Amelia recalls a tale concerning pale blue magic circles that transport individuals to their intended destination, and how if several people step into one, it responds solely to the desires of a single individual. Akira expresses concern that this could pose a difficulty for them, but Amelia reassures him that she will accompany him wherever he goes. Provided she is by his side, Akira gives little thought to her declaration as he projects to step into the magic circle. He briefly contemplates whether it could transport him back to his family, but quickly dismisses the idea, recognizing that his quest for retribution takes precedence. Subsequently, the magic circle activates, and the group is instantly transported to a forest from which a colossal tree is discernible. Amelia is stunned upon beholding the tree, which Nate identifies as the World Tree. He informs them that they have arrived in the Elven Forest, and despite Amelia's disbelief at their unexpected arrival here, Akira considers it a favorable location. Abruptly, an insane elf launches an arrow at Amelia from a tree, but Akira's timely intervention pulls her out of harm's way. Akira then swiftly advances on the archer, parrying another arrow with his dagger, before quickly getting behind the assailant. He subdues the archer, who Amelia recognizes as Liam. Liam admitted he didn't anticipate encountering the trader. He explained he was investigating a leg in the area and urges Amelia to flee for her life. Akira, uninterested in his captor, renders him unconscious. However, Akira realizes his actions were too slow as a group of elves has already encircled them. Amelia's sister, Kilika, personally leads the elves and informs Amelie that her return to the country shall serve. This marks the conclusion of the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.